on a very personal note, the Indianapolis Colts are bad. That's
Yeah.
all. The Indianapolis Colts um, are trying to manage a quarterback situation with Anthony Richardson, who has not played well this season when he has gotten time in the game because this guy has not even played 20 football games at this point. Um, when you even count college, he's barely played 20, 25 football games at any level. Um, Playing for Florida and getting drafted top 5 pick. And now the Colts have decided, and before Sunday night, they decided we are going to start Joe Flacco, not just for a game, but Joe Flacco is our quarterback for the foreseeable future,
For
right?
the rest of the season.
And what the vibe of that was, and after Anthony Richardson had a bad game against Houston, the vibe of that move was this guy can't play. Anthony Richardson. He is not the guy. We are giving up on him. We're going to send him to the bench. And we think Joe Flacco gives us a better chance to win football games. That's the decision Shane Steichen made. And it just absolutely blew up in the face of the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. It was just an awfully offensive game, no offensive touchdown. They could not move the ball. It was a Thursday night football game that was played on Sunday, that game. And as a Colts fan, we're kind of used to this stuff at this point. Having watched Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Philip Rivers, Sam Ellinger, Scott Tolzien, we could go back as long as you want to go for the non-luck, non-Manning quarterbacks that we've seen. But to see a 22-year-old who's clearly a project quarterback, right? Joel, have you ever started a project and said, this is going to take some time? And
Yeah,
you said,
yeah.
you know what? I'm just not going to work on this project anymore. Even though I spent all this money to get the supplies for this project, I'm just going to stop the project no, for no reason, even though it's in its infancy. That's what the Colts did. Um, he's a project quarterback. We all knew that. And they just have not done anything to prepare him for his confidence in the NFL, to prepare him for the NFL. And quarterback development is ruined in the NFL at this point, Joel.
I okay. I think what the Colts were trying to do was get away from that narrative of the non-athletic quarterback. Here's what I thought the Colts were doing. This is exactly what I thought they were doing. I think they were trying to look at the Philadelphia Eagles and said, okay, look what they went through with Carson Wentz. And then immediately they drafted Jalen Hurts. And everybody was like, what are you doing? What are you drafting Jalen Hurts for? All this stuff, blah, 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 blah. They didn't realize he is a freak athlete, Jalen Hurts. And you look at the success that the Eagles have had. They were trying to do that. And also, let's hire Shane Steichen from that Eagles staff. Let's get him in here. Let's get a guy who can run with the ball, a guy who's strong, a guy who can jump, a guy who's fast. Like, we want a guy like that, a guy who could throw the ball deep. He has all the intangibles that you would want to see in a quarterback. Physically, he has all that. But one of the other things that you have to keep in mind was, has he shown you anything that he can be a good quarterback? Jalen Hurts, you kind of saw that in college. You didn't really see that with Anthony Richardson in college. You never really saw that. They drafted him strictly based off potential because of what they thought he could be, right? What they thought the Colts could be. They had a good offensive line. They have pretty good receivers. They got Jonathan Taylor, a very good running back. I think they got a good defense. I think their defense is okay,
Yeah, top
but
five
some
defensive line
guys,
in the NFL. Yeah.
yeah, I thought their defense was fine. It doesn't get talked about a lot. It really doesn't. But I think with the Colts, they got caught in a situation where they were just like gallivanting towards the fact that, oh my God, this is a quarterback we could have on our team. He's a project quarterback. Yeah, you should be using him like the Packers were using Jordan Love. Don't start him right away. I don't think he's ready right now. Let's get a veteran in here that we could start for maybe a year or two. Maybe that could have been Flacco. I don't know. But
Yeah.
a year or two, leave that person in there and just have Anthony Richardson watch them. We don't want him to play right away. He's only 22 years old. At the time, it's 21. You don't want to play him right away. Let him sit down, and by the time he's 20 24-ish, 23, late 23, who knows? Maybe he could play and he could actually start for us and he'd be pretty good. But the Colts were not patient with him. The Colts were not patient. They said, no, he's a freak athlete. We want to start him now. We want to start him now. What happens? He hurts his shoulder. He's out for the year. Okay, so that didn't work. We're gonna try this again. He's been with us for a year now. He's been in the building. He's been watching us play. He's been watching Gardner Minshew lead this team to the playoffs. Okay,
Almost.
or almost. Sorry.
They
Almost.
were a Tyler Goodson catch away. Yes.
They were, yes. I keep forgetting about that. Sorry. It
Yes.
just felt like they did because they were
It felt
kind of a
like
good.
it was a great run by Gardner Minshew. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like they had a good run.
Yeah.
But basically, they thought he was ready, and he wasn't. And even showing it now, it's like clearly you're not ready, and clearly it's like also mentally. One of the things that you didn't bring up was the fact that he subbed himself out of a game
Yes.
against the Houston Texans
Kind of
because he
blocked
was
that out of
tired.
memory.
Because he was tired. It was a divisional game. It was the third quarter. They were by no means out of the game. They absolutely could have come back and won that game. They were down by like 6, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was basically a one-score game. And they were in the red zone. And it was third down. I'm tired. I'm gonna sub myself out. I'm tired. And listen, by no means should you or I be talking about what it means to be tired. We're not athletes, okay? I
Yeah.
understand that. But I see what other athletes are saying. I see what other starting quarterbacks, former starting quarterbacks, potential Hall of Famers, I see what they're saying about what Anthony Richardson said. And every single one of them have the same mentality. You can't do that. Even if you are tired, lie. Don't say that you're tired. Say that you're cramping. Say something. Say anything. You telling them that you are tired. That makes everybody on the team say, F this guy. I don't want him on my team. I don't want him starting for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to play for him. Like that's basically what it was. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting, and I mentioned it on our TikTok. Make sure you go see that video. When Shane Steichen came out and said, "Oh, Anthony Richardson is not going to be starting anymore. We're going to be starting Joe Flacco," a reporter asked him like basically if this was like a team decision. He said, "Well, I can't speak for the team." That to me tells me that there were maybe potentially receivers that went up to Shane Steichen and said, "You got to do something about this guy." And I don't mean like, oh, like we got to fit. No. Fix this because clearly it's night and day between Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson. And it's like, we're not trying to build a project right now. I want to win. I want to win because my stats, the second contract that I get in this league determines on how my stats are. And if this guy is throwing me the ball, he's costing me money. He's costing us wins. That would be some of these guys' mentality. So I understand why they wouldn't want Anthony Richardson to be the starter. I understand why Colts fans wouldn't want him to be the starter. That's why I view it as I don't know how you can come back from this. I really don't.
I don't either.
I genuinely think I've seen a lot of people say like, oh no, the Colts aren't done with him. He's too young. They're not done with him. Josh Rosen. That's what I would say. Josh Rosen, like he was with the Cardinals for 1 year. He was the 10th overall pick, and the Cardinals were so bad that they got the number 1 pick, and they said, you know what, we're moving on. Kyler Murray's way better. We know he's better. We're just gonna have him, and he's been with the team ever since.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you where Josh Rosen is now. Anthony Richardson, he's gonna be
Finance.
this. Oh yeah, Penn State or something.
Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know. I just kind of made that up. It
Bro,
could be real.
genuinely, I don't know.
Indianapolis, yeah. Like I said, I think. I mean, you look at the head tap, and the head tap is where you kind of go to when this decision was made, and the Houston Texans game. Joel, if they win the Texans game, they were leading the AFC South.
Yeah, they're first in the division if they win that game.
First in the division. Now they're basically 3 games back. It was that big of a game. And Josh Downs did come out and say, "Hey, Anthony Richardson is 22 years old. Like he'll be fine. His one of could be his best receiver." I found that very interesting. How he, I think teammates of his are in a bit of a crossroads, right? Because when you're quarterback, and a lot of people kind of were discussing, oh, why is this such a big deal? If he was tired. He was tired. I'm like, well, that's not how football works, right? I mean,
That's not how football works.
if that was so normal, then quarterbacks would tap out all the time, and the backup quarterbacks would get tons of burn and tons of
You
play.
you don't think that there's 21 other guys on the field that are tired?
Everyone's tired.
Everyone's tired.
It's war, right?
It's
We're
a
all we're
sport.
all tired.
Every
Um,
every single athlete of every sport is tired.
yeah, but you push through it, and that's what is the
You're
difference between
tired. Everyone's tired.
a champion and someone who fails at the sport. And also just shows you don't care as much about your team. You don't care about the division. You don't care about the stakes. You don't care about making the playoffs. That's the kind of vibe you get in a locker room, especially on the defense. Defensive guys were not happy about this. That was the main side of the ball when it came to analysts and on ESPN or wherever you want to talking about this move. It was defensive guys because those guys battle every single play, especially in the trenches. Your offensive line, how do they feel about that? So it could not have had to do with his play as much. There might have been a full on locker room discussion of, hey, if you're going to do that, you're not my quarterback. You're not starting a quarterback in the NFL. You're not getting one of the most sought after 32 jobs in the world, quarterbacking in the NFL. So yeah, I get it. This Colts team just isn't ready with Joe Flacco. The Shane Steichen offense is not built for Joe Flacco. It's built for mobile quarterbacks. It's not built for the older veteran to come in and make things work. And
I
you saw that Sunday night.
I'm not necessarily gonna overreact to what happened Sunday night. Let's not ignore that the Minnesota Vikings are a very good defense.
They are. No,
They're
they are.
they are arguably one of the top defenses in the league this year. They're
Correct.
like that. That's why I'm kind of like I kind of loosened the leash a little bit when it comes to the Colts for Sunday because it's like okay, they're face. I don't know who they face next week, but I'm like they're probably gonna face a much.
Buffalo. Buffalo
Okay,
at
that's
home, and then the Jets on the road, and the Lions.
okay. Jets they might be able to do some work and same with the line, but
Yeah.
um. Yeah, that's the only thing I was saying because I look at the upcoming schedule and it's like, okay, Minnesota, they are a very good defense, and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to have Joe Flacco go out there and just, be elite prime Joe Flacco with the
Elite quarterback
with
Joe Flacco.
elite quarterback Joe Flacco. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really overreacting to that fact. I will say, like you said, I'm not saying that they didn't look great. They did not look great. They just
They look
didn't.
horrible, Joe. They look
Yeah,
horrible.
they look really bad. They look really bad.
Horrible. It was one of the worst offensive performances I've seen in my team all year, and probably the past couple years. And I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks play for the Indianapolis Colts. It's been
Yeah,
tough.
it's I don't see how it gets better. That's the other
That's the
thing too.
problem. That's the bigger problem. It's not this is bad because when things are bad, you usually see the path to getting better, right? When Anthony Richardson was bad, you see, okay, he can improve in this area, this area, this area. He can improve his accuracy, right?
Right.
He makes throws that 99% of quarterbacks can't, and can't make the throws 99% of quarterbacks can. But there's consistent improvement somewhere in some departments, and he made star throws. But Joe Flacco, I mean, we know who Joe Flacco is.
Let me ask you right here right now as a Colts fan, going into the draft next year, you think you're taking a quarterback?
Depends how bad they are. Depends how bad they are.
Like, do
If they have a top 10 pick, a quarterback comes off the board.
I'm about to say, let's say they have a top 15 pick and only one quarterback has been taken and the Colts are on the clock. Do you think they're taking either Cam Ward or Shador Sanders?
I mean, it also depends how well they're scouted. But if you let's say Cam Ward wins a Heisman, and if Cam Ward gets the same kind of evaluation of Jaden Daniels or wherever, right, veteran quarterback, older guy, go get it done. You go take him. Yeah, they will take him. They will take a quarterback, and I don't know if that's going to be the right decision because man, is this secondary awful. This secondary is terrible.
Yeah.
I, if Travis Hunter decides to stick with cornerback, go get him.
I think he may be playing both. I'm not gonna speculate on that, but I'm pretty sure he's playing
If he
both.
plays both, I don't want him on an NFL roster as a fan of my team because I don't think it's going to work. But if he commits to one position and it's corner, I want him he's an elite corner, he's an elite wide receiver. I mean, if he tries to play both, sure. I mean, he could pull a Deion Sanders, right? They did throw Deion
Yeah,
Sanders at
it's like
receiver sometimes.
it's like a
Um,
50-50 thing where like he doesn't
yeah.
play like, all the snaps, but like he'll
But
still
you
be out
can
there.
throw him out right. A couple drives a game, maybe you use him out there because he's just so talented, or have him return kicks or whatever you want to do. He's just such a freak athlete. Um, I wouldn't mind him in blue and white. So we'll see. But this team has a lot to think about. They have a lot to do. I think they're going to clean house when it comes to the coach, when it comes to Ballard. I think this is a year where you clean house because this secondary is awful. Um, there's not much to build on, especially after this kind of year. And I think they'll end up cleaning house. I do at this point of the year. I think that this is the last time you'll see Shane Steichen coach the Indianapolis Colts. So I think Chris Ballard's also done as general manager because you need a new breath of life at this point, especially if you're moving on from Richardson. You need a breath of life.
There's a lot of teams that need a fresh breath of life.
Yeah,
by that means.
I've never used that phrase, but I think I'm going to use it now.
That's a good phrase. I actually like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
that.
that.
There we go. I'll come up with stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Break Panel Sports, and we are here in the beautiful backyard of our friend Jeff. But I'm John.
And I'm Joel. Make sure to look for more on our Spotify and YouTube. We'll see you next time.